Hey, folks, a hell of a day again. I have been trying to catch up in as much as I can while moving furniture all day today. But let's just talk for a minute. This is not going to take long because, quite frankly, I think the Attorney General said it all. I mean, I give him an incredible amount of credit. You guys remember I've been trying to tell you this for a long time, that this Attorney General is doing his job. And he has been doing it. The Department of Justice has been doing their job, investigating a whole range of things. We saw the execution of a search warrant. And today, what we saw was a statement from the Attorney General of the United States that was exactly, it was just, I couldn't have written it better. I don't think all of my former U.S. attorney colleagues that I talk to all the time could have written it better. I mean, it was exactly what the public needed to kind of understand these procedures that we've talked about probable cause and the issuance of a search warrant by a federal magistrate. This is not a district judge like I thought the other day, but a magistrate, which is really, if you think about it, even more important, because had this been a U.S. district judge, all the media would have been talking about is whether it was a court-appointed judge by by President Trump, President Obama, President Bush, President Clinton, whatever. The focus would have been on the appointment and confirmation process. Magistrates, U.S. magistrate judges, are appointed by the court, not just one judge, but the entire court in that particular district, which has probably kind of got a mix of a lot of folks. So this judge was appointed by other judges, which makes, I think, even more of an independent review of what was in that warrant. The AG made it really clear today that he was going to move to unseal the warrant. Not that he did unseal it. He can't do that. They moved to seal it just like they did according to procedures, but he was going to move to unseal it. That motion that they filed is online. You can find it. I tried to print it out a minute ago to show you, but I couldn't do it. But it's there. And the statement he gave, I think, was especially important. Number one, it confirmed exactly what me, a lot of other folks have been saying. The Attorney General of the United States personally approved the issuance of this warrant. This went up to the top, all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed. That's exactly what happened. That's what we anticipated to happen. He acknowledged that today, and he acknowledged that, but he was going before the public today because of the substantial public interest. And, the public's interest is pretty clear, and they've got a powerful interest, as it was said, in understanding, this is the Attorney General words, what occurred under the circumstances. Now, keep in mind that what the Attorney General is unsealing is only the warrant itself, which gives the place to be searched, and it gives what they were looking for. Probably we'll talk about a couple of potential criminal violations. And the other thing will be the inventory that was left at the former president's residence or given to his lawyers. That may be fairly redacted or general because of the classified and possibly even top secret nature of all this. The Attorney General made it clear that no one's above the law. They'll apply the law without fear or favor. And I think that that's incredibly important as well. Another thing he said that I want people to fully understand the importance of, and it might have gone kind of unnoticed. He said that the search warrant was executed according to procedure. And he said, where possible, standard practice is to seek less intrusive means. We have now seen a number of different media outlets reporting the less intrusive mean. Agents were at Mar-a-Lago. They talked to representatives of the former president. At one point, the former president was there and said hello to them. They talked, they reviewed, they made sure they gave certain recommendations. They tried to get more documents. More documents were turned over. They weren't satisfied. Importantly, a subpoena. It's been reported anyway that a subpoena was issued back in maybe June, and they still weren't satisfied. That's what's happened when the Attorney General says that where possible, less intrusive means are followed, that's what he was talking about. I can pretty much guarantee you that's what he's talking about. So unlike what we are hearing from so many people, the former president's supporters and folks from the Republican National Committee on down, this department gave him every ounce of respect that a former president would deserve, whether you agree with him or not, whether you like him or not, still a former president, and they gave him every opportunity and every ounce of respect in order to try to get these documents. And apparently they were concerned that they were not being turned over. There may be a confidential source somewhere that told them that there were still documents, that they were being played, maybe. We don't know that. But the fact is, they gave him every opportunity. They showed him that respect. And at the end of the day, what appears to have been taken out of Mar-a-Lago was classified material and perhaps even top secret. I said the other night that the biggest issue that I thought this showed was the fact that there were documents there that could be national security risk if they were released. They could have been used improperly. They could have been used for extortion, not by Donald Trump, but if they got in the wrong hands, they could have been used for national security purposes. So one of the things to keep in mind, we may not see actual criminal charges that come out of this particular search warrant execution. We don't know. Obviously, there was probable cause to believe a crime was committed because they could have never gotten a magistrate to sign the warrant without that. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of reasons why prosecutors may go forward with a case or decline a case. And that remains to be seen. And what we haven't seen yet is the underlying evidence, that affidavit. That will not likely be unsealed for some period of time. You know, they gave the president, former president, as much respect as they could. They executed this search warrant when there was only a skeletal crew and the club was closed. The former president was in New York. They didn't go in with a SWAT team like you often see happening. It was low key until the former president tweeted it out that he was, quote, under siege, which was really kind of an absurd comment. But the fact is they were doing that. But remember, we may or may not see particular charges coming out of this search warrant. But what I do believe, and what we talked about a little bit the other night, it was incredibly important that at some point you have to kind of just snap the cap on all efforts to get these documents back, those less intrusive means. And if you can't get them back, you got to execute a search warrant because national security is at stake. And so this could easily be just a document retrieval, as I've heard the media reply to it today, or kind of label it some. It could very well be. But make no mistake, even if it was a document retrieval mission, it was incredibly important for classified and top secret documents that were apparently being housed in a place where they were not secure, could not be secure, and against the law, a total violation of law. So that's kind of where we are. Everybody needs to let this play out. Clearly, the Department of Justice and others are doing their jobs. We'll continue to monitor this. We'll continue to let this go, and we'll see where this will lead us. I think it's fascinating that the former president and his allies are wanting to, just dog the FBI, defund the FBI, say this is a rogue state, yada, yada, yada. But yet they want to go public and complain. And then they first started complaining that the warrant should be released. We should have more transparency. So when the Department of Justice decides to give more transparency, the reports are now that a bunch of Donald Trump's friends are going to go into court to try to block that. We'll see how that turns out for them. But, the hypocrisy here, folks, is just, it's just really stunning. And I want to kind of end on this. We talked the other night, and I've said for so many years about words have consequences. Words have consequences. I grew up in an era of dog whistle politics. People died on January 6th. One person died today. You go back and you listen to the rhetoric and you see the vitriol coming out. after this warrant was executed. You hear the hate. You go back to the CPAC convention where the big banner said, "We are all domestic terrorists." Oh my God, domestic terrorists. You go back and you hear some of those speeches talking about, man, get your battle axes. We're going to war. You hear talk about civil war. Folks, this has got to stop. And to all of those on that are supporters of Donald Trump, I respect that. Okay, that's fine. But don't give people like this poor man who got killed today because he thought he was doing the right thing. You can call him crazy. You can disagree with him. But he thought he was probably doing the right thing, and he lost his life for it. And we cannot continue to let that happen. For God's sakes, we cannot let that continue to happen. And I hope my friends on the other side of the aisle in particular will tone down this crazy rhetoric that's going to lead to more deaths if we're not careful. So let's take a few deep breaths. Let the institutions of government operate the way they're supposed to. Let the Constitution of the United States operate the way it's supposed to, the way it did with the execution of this warrant the other day in Florida. And let's let things go where they're going to go. Let the law take its course. Let DOJ do their job. They're doing it in a non-political way. And the last thing I'll mention, how much I appreciate the Attorney General of the United States, and through a statement that I saw issued by Chris Wray, the director of the FBI, going to bat for the men and women of the Department of Justice. Remember, almost everybody in both of those departments, in DOJ and in the FBI, are career civil servants. They are there to serve and protect. And that is what they have been doing. And I appreciate the fact that they say it. And everybody on this call ought to commend them as well, even though we might disagree with them at many times. Disagreements should not undercut the fact that they go to work every day and do their damn jobs. And they do it for you. So thank you. Good night. Let's see how this goes.